when anyone visits Chaul or any other monumental site, they try to explore more about the history and takes some learnings back home while on the way back. So we all know Mumbai is an important commercial port of India, and over 2.5 centuries now, it's catering to the international trade from Mumbai for India, and volume-wise, it caters almost 10% of the total trade in term and almost 16% of traffic that uh, comes to India via over the sea. The Surat Council of India, the Surat Council of East India Company recognized the natural advantage of Mumbai Islands as a maritime base and urged its purchase from Portuguese in 1652. And this wish came true around 9 years after that through the marriage treaty between Charles II of Great Britain and Infant Catherine of Portugal. The development of port started taking shape after the transfer of port and islands to the East India Company by Royal Charter in 1668, and slowly the megacity started getting its mark on the maps of international trade. Today we are not here to discuss the port of Mumbai. I know that, but we are going to discuss something that acted as a precursor to Mumbai. A historical port which has records right from 2000 plus years. The port which was operational for more than 1,000 years, and the city which had population coming not only within the country but even across the country or internationally, and who settled here since 2000 plus years. It is Chaul. The location of Chaul is most significant when it comes to its fate, in good as well as in bad sense. It is situated at the mouth of Kundalika River, and which is also known as the Roha Creek. The water levels here are significantly deep near the coast, with some irregular lumps and rocks in between, which makes it a natural port. And to its advantage, it also has the hill of Korlai Fort, which acts as a protector and keeps the sea calm almost throughout the year. Some of the medieval travelers also mentioned it was very much visible even from the distance in the sea, and it helped in navigation. These all characteristics made Chaul a secure harbor. Below, so before we move to the next parts, I would like to underline some important aspects here. So the Chaul that we see today is probably just 35 or 40% of the port of Chaul we had it in past. And even the exact location of the port is currently not traceable due to the changes in the landscape and geological conditions or situations here. But based on the documentary evidences and different monuments and findings from the excavations and exploration, the location is estimated on the left, on this side, the yellow point here. So it is estimated that the port was on this side of Kundalika River. The geological studies indicate the current sea level has raised by almost 4 to 5 meters, which is 14 to 16 feet from what it was 2,000 years ago. This means the port area is probably submerged under the piles of sand and silt now. Geographically speaking, Chaul has very good internal as well as external connections. Being on the coast of Arabian Sea, it can be reached to the Persian Gulf, Africa, from where Arabs would travel further to European countries and conduct their trades. Several evidences were also discovered that indicate that it also had trade relations with East Asia, and China. So apart from the international trade connections, it also shared the trade relations with different domestic ports on the south as well as north coast. Mm, It being a major port, the many travelers, geographers, and religious leaders have visited Chaul. Their travelogues accounts have mentioned of these visits and many of other details that help us to understand the importance of the city, social scenarios, and also other aspects like culture, religion, etc. Based on these references, I have drafted this timeline that shows the name of the person, document, period, community, or religion that they belong to. So here we can see the references or the name, the references of Chaul and different names that those were mentioned right from the initial years of Common Era. It starts from Canary. Then we have references from Ptolemy, Periplus of then there were also mentions in Sahyadri Khanda of Skanda Puran, then Al-Idris, Masudi, Mohahil, Nikitan. So there are many references about Chaul, uh, and which are from different times, different. The travelers were from different regions. The few of the names that we commonly see are, which are repeatedly used, are Chemula, Saimur, Jaimur, Chivel, Champavati, and Chaul. And as we see here, like there are lesser references during the first centuries, but then yes, there are mentions by Greek writers which also indicate that it was an important place even at the beginning of the Christian era. Otherwise the Greek writers wouldn't have mentioned about it. Even Hindu mythology or the legends related to Chaul talk about the 360 temples with 360 ponds, which were constructed here, and which also has relations with Rameshwar from Tamil Nadu. So these references also indicate that even locally, it was an important place or a city in a larger geography. So we will discuss these references and their interpretation in the coming sections. So firstly, we have archaeological findings. So around in 2003, an excavation and exploration was conducted by Deccan College, which was also like partially conducted initially, and then after a few years, the second phase was done. During these excavations, a number of archaeological artifacts were discovered, which included pottery from different eras, metal objects of copper and iron, glass beads, manufacturing units, bangles, ring wells with terracotta walls, and bricks structure. So, and these artifacts are dated to Satvana period, which is around second century BC, and the earliest habitational levels from the excavations belong to the Mauryan period, which is 300 BC. So these levels are below today's sea level, which are by around 4 to 5 meters. So, which indicate the rise of sea level over the years. The artifacts found here during the excavations helped us in establishing the chronology, and it includes red and black ware, red polished ware, amphora shreds dating from initial era of common initial era of CE and 7th century. So, and some shreds of the glazed ware from the Western Asia, large stoneware shreds from Chinese origin, Roman amphora, and monochrome ware are very commonly found. These findings strongly confirm that the continuous occupation at Chaul was existing right from the beginning of Common Era till the 17th century. And even the maritime activities were happening in good concentration. So even now, even today, when we go for walks through these sites, we find several pieces of potteries and other artifacts very easily. This is because of the abundance of cultural wear here and uh, the volume that it had. So the artifacts that we see on the slide over here, those all are recently found and by me. And majorly these are blue on white pottery. And then there is also one monochrome pottery, the base of a pot that we can see here. So next part is after the archaeological artifacts that we discussed, we will go to historical references or the written references about Chaul. Everyone is aware about the Canary Caves complex. It is one of the largest cave complex, rather it is the largest cave complex in Konkan region, and it has more than 120 caves and more than 50 inscriptions in Brahmi, Devanagari, Pahalvi, and which are spread across the caves. The inscriptions on these, the inscriptions denote the donors and sometimes also the details about the monks, kings who ruled at that time, and also the period in which the caves were carved. So in this table, we can see 3 inscriptions from Canary Caves which talk about Chaul. The first and the last one are from cave number 7. The first, it talks about the donation for a water tank. All these inscriptions are in Brahmi, and stylistically they are dated to 2nd century of Common Era, and they are in Prakrit language. So the first inscription in cave number 7, it talks about the water tank, which is donated by Sulas Datta, the son of goldsmith Rohini Mita from Chemula. Similarly, the third inscription is from cave number 7, which talks about the donation for the bench, which is a gift from Dhammanaka, who is again son of the same goldsmith Rohini Mita from Chaul. And the third inscription is outside cave number 26 on the veranda, and it talks about so it is the complete inscription is not available, but then the out of the words which can be read or seen, the prominent words are Chemula and Kanagiri. Kanagiri is again another name of Krishnagiri or Kaneri as we know today. So these inscriptions suggest the donations of the work at Canary Caves were given by a family of goldsmiths from Chaul. And the interpretation of these inscriptions is not just a record of donation, but it indicates that Canary was an important Buddhist religious center back then and was receiving donations from devotees staying beyond 150 kilometers from it. Also, we need to consider another important aspect about donations to the monasteries. These donations were implied for perpetual expenses related to assets and used to be in form of deposits that will fetch interest or income. And so that the monasteries don't have to go back for donations related to same asset, and they can use the funds in developing and maintenance of asset. At times, agricultural land was also given as donation. So we don't know exactly what kind of donations were made here, but yes. And okay. To cover the perpetual expenses related to donated asset, the donation had to be large sums, or as I mentioned, it used to be agricultural land or some wealth in any form. So if we put these things together, We can see a family from Chaul did multiple donations to religious center that is situated hundreds of kilometers from their native. And to interpret it in a right way, it was it simply means that the family was closely related or visiting the monastery on regular basis, and they were also rich enough to afford such donations. Then we have some caves from Chaul. So the Buddhist monasteries or caves and trade centers are closely related to each other. Even in Chaul, we see several Buddhist caves. So Hingulza and Vagdevi caves are two caves in the best of their condition, I would say. And firstly, we'll talk about Hingulza. So it is known as Hingulza temple because there is a temple of goddess Hingulza which was established around 10th or 11th century um, by Bhanushali community. But in the premises, even now we can see a stupa. There are two water tanks and some other fragments from the original structure which clearly indicate it was a Buddhist cave. According to the gazetteer, they also had an inscription, but those were removed by Bhanushali community when they took over the caves and built the temple over there. Then there is another cave of Vagdevi, similar to Hingulza. Originally it was a Buddhist cave, and later on, the Vagdevi temple was established over there. Here we can see three caves and two well-dug water tanks, uh, which are again the features of a Buddhist cave. Also, there is a one stupa which is not in a great state, right? Great state as of now, but then yes, it can be easily identified. And apart from these two, there are few more caves hidden in the hills around. So though today these are not very easily accessible, but then the location of these caves and the ruins very much match with the Buddhist architecture and the purpose of caves as Parshavas. Based on the styles of the stupa, the caves in the Chaul are dated around 2nd to 5th century. Again, this matches with the dates of inscriptions from Kaneri caves, and it indicates the strong presence of Buddhism in Chaul in that era. So the majority of Buddhist monasteries are situated on the trade routes, and the monks, artisans traveled together with traders on these routes, spreading the teachings of Buddha and influencing the art styles. Hence, it can be easily concluded that trade activities were happening at Chaul during the first 5 centuries, and it was very well connected by sea route to the ports on the north, including Sopara, Thane, etc. Sahyadri Khanda is a part of Skanda Puran and has different names used for this city. Uh, there are the mentions for Chaul are given like Champavati Nagri, Chenwal, Revti Kshetra for Revdanda in Sahyadri Khanda of Skanda Puran. Though the exact times are not known, the Sahyadri Khanda is placed it is a collection of literature between 5th to 13th century. Here, the name Chenwell has an interesting story. The roots of this name Chenwell connect to the Chavan Rishi. And according to a legend, the famous Rishi, Chavan Rishi, so he settled here, and after whom this place received the name Chenwal. Interestingly, a set of Buddhist caves ahead of Kuda, Mandad, Sudhagad has a legend of Bhrigu Rishi attached to it. And Sudhagad Fort was originally known as Bhoragiri or Bhrigugiri, named after the Bhrigu Rishi, who is father of Chavan Rishi. These caves also fall on the inner side of the Kundalika river, which is in continuation after Roha. So the Thanale caves at Sudhagad is a complex of 23 caves, uh, which is uh, which is dated to first century BC, and these caves are very elaborative and looking at the structure and different aspects are definitely can be considered as a matured structure of monastery. And these Buddhist monasteries at Thanale were related to must be related to Chaul, because looking at the estimated period of creation, the monastery of Chaul was probably the satellite to monastery of Thanale. And this original relationship must have followed in the legends which came later of Bhrigu and Chavan sages as well. So and hence, since the Tanare caves are older and superior the the Chaul monastery, it got as in this is just a theory, but yes, that could be a reason behind it. So till Maratha period, the Sudhagad was also part of Bhor state, and it was very well connected to central Maharashtra by multiple trade routes. And it is very obvious that it was one of the routes that was bringing the goods from which was being traded at Chaul. Coming to the next part of travelogues, travelogue is another trustworthy source of information available in abundance. Chaul has been mentioned in more than 20 travelogues ranging from 1st to 17th century, and comes from a widespread geography like Eastern and Western Europe, Arab, and even China. So I have selected very few travelers to spend, like, to avoid, because then it will become a lot of information in this time span. So firstly, we have Al-Masudi. He is considered to be the oldest Arabian historian and geographer who documented his visit to Chaul. In his account, he refers to it as Saimur and mentions he visited Chaul in Hijri year 304, which is 916 of Common Era. It was then ruled by Prince Janja, and he mentions that there were about 10,000 Muslims in Chaul from Siraf, Oman, Basora, Baghdad, etc. Apart from the Muslims who were born here. He further mentions that this Muslim community has an elected leader known as Hazma, who is also authorized by Prince of the country. There were some copper plates which discovered from dated to 11th century CE near Chaul, which mention this prince, and some experts believe probably he was the Shilahara king Chinnadev Raja who ruled over Konkan from Thane. Then the next one is Muhammad Al Idris. He visited Chaul during 12th century, and he mentions it as Saimur, which is approximately 5 days traveling from Sindan. And that this town is very well built and with abundant of coconut trees. Also here we have henna and many other aromatic plants or spices that are exported. Further, he mentions it along with the cities like Kambaya, Subara, and Sindan as the cities forming the part of India and of the king Balhara. The Balhara king's kingdom is very vast, well peopled, and commercial fertile. The people pay heavy taxes, which make the king immensely rich. Many spices and perfumes are produced in the country. This description of Chaul matches even today, as Chaul is known for coconut, bitter leaf, and nutmeg production. The other cities that mentioned by Idris are Cambay, Sopara, Sanjan, which are known trading ports. and the king Balhara mentioned by Masudi is as well as the king Balhara, which is mentioned by Idris and Masudi, uh, is is actually the corrupt form of Vallabha, which was used by Rashtrakuta dynasty. Idris also mentioned about the wealth made by the king through the taxes, which again underlines the volume of trade happening through this port. Talking about maritime connections of Chaul, we cannot skip Afnasi Nikitan, because he was amongst the first Europeans to travel and document their visit in India. He visited Chaul in 1470, and they stayed at Chaul for 7 weeks, after which they moved to the hinterlands. So in his descriptions, again he talks about the kings, the dressing of king, the type of people he saw at Chaul, and the trade activities which were happening in Chaul. So here we can also see the map of that depicts the Nikitan's journey. Then we have few more travelogues where Chaul has been mentioned, but I will not go in depth for these, and quickly move to the next section. So, which is about the transactional data that we found through different accounts or the administrative documents. So there are some transactional information available about the different from the different sources, and that can be referred to understand the quantum of trade happening from Chaul. Since Portuguese had demonstrated their naval capabilities and had established themselves in it, so Nizam of Ahmednagar had appointed them to protect his trading ships on this coast. The Nizam used to pay fees for the protection of their ships on the sea, which was amounting 600 laris or 2,000 gold parados per year. According to the Bijapuri documents, from the medieval times, the Chaul was also known as Pet Rustamabad or Kasbe Chaul, and it was one of the definitely it was a port, but it was also a toll collection center, which was contributing to large revenues. Also, the word or the term "pate" used here is very important because it has different meanings apart from the word market. Apart from the meaning market, it also means or stands for a place of manufacturing or trading activities. So, in any sense, it underlines the large amount of economic activities which were performed in this area. Arrival of Portuguese was very important part of history of Chaul. So Vasco da Gama arrived in arrived in Calicut via Africa in May 1498, and this discovery eliminated the Arab influence in the European trade with East Coast. So, but it wasn't a very smooth beginning because the Arab trader guilds had prejudice about the Portuguese, and they also wanted to they didn't want to lose the control, so they tried to influence the local kings here. And after some initial conflicts and also some battles, finally Portuguese came to an agreement and established trade relation with the king of Calicut. In still in 1508, the Arab naval battle between Portuguese and Mamluk Sultanate from Egypt happened, and Portugal was known for a country or a land of seafarers, and the sailors were very adventurous from there, uh, with very high selling skills and drive for adventure. And so they achieved this title and became almost unbeatable on the naval front. Unfortunately, the war with Mamluk was totally different for their previous experience, and with several alliances of Mamluk attacking the Portuguese from different directions in a very short time of span, they lost the war. This was the first war Portuguese lost. This was the first naval war Portuguese lost, and it was a kind of a shocker for them. So the this war was being led by Lawrence de Almada, who was son of Viceroy Francis Almeida, and he also lost his life on the ship which was sunk at the entrance of Chaul. So the disheartened father, uh, the Viceroy Francis Almeida, took this war to the heart, and in again stroke another battle in the next year, 1509, and where Portuguese won. And after this, they decided to establish a factor at Chaul. So that's how the initial factory at Chaul was established around 1510. So yeah, so that's how the Portuguese factory was established in Chaul. So I think we had a lot of theory till now. I was talking and giving information about Chaul, and it became more like a history class. So I'll take a quick recap about what we discussed till now, and we'll also try to take a break from the theory that we were discussing and move to the field. So this is the recap that we had on the history of Chaul, arrival of Portuguese, and now we have some maps of Chaul where we can see Chaul. These are ancient. These are old maps, right from the times of like. Obviously, there are different versions which come up, which are updated on regular times. But still, these are from the initial ages, and which give you a perspective like how the India was depicted, and where we see Chaul in almost all the maps. So depiction of depiction of all geographic aspects is different, because it is interpretation of the interpretation of the travelers or the geographers according to their traveling routes. So this map is particularly from the exhibition that Asiatic Society had hosted 2 months back. So even those had the references to Chaul. And so now we will go to the next section, where I'll show you or talk about the different monuments that we have. Before that, I'll just give you some more briefing about Chaul. So around Portuguese times, after the arrival of Portuguese, so Nizam authorized uh, the Portuguese to build a fort, and the Chaul was kind of divided into two parts: Upper Chaul and Lower Chaul. So this division is purely based on the geological aspects, and the part which is close to the sea is known as Lower Chaul, and now today we call it as Revdanda. And the part which was on the close to the hill or on the upper side is called as Upper Chaul, and that part was majorly under the influence of Nizam, and was also known as Mohammedan Chaul. And so now we will move to the places of interest. Firstly, we have Redanda Fort. So in 1516, the permissions were given from Nizam of Ahmednagar to establish the factory at Chaul, and so under which a very simple fort, that's not even a fort actually, that was a factory which was established, which a simple building was built, and in later in around 1520 the additional structure was added to that. So and the complete fortification was done to the Revdanda, or the lower Chaul, as we mentioned. To grant the permission for to build this structure, or this fort, the Portuguese had to guarantee a supply of 300 imported horses per year. And to just give an idea of the value, so each imported horse would cost anywhere between 1,000 to 4,000 tankas, or we can say the currency, rupiah or currency during that time. And a locally breeded horse would cost around 500 tankas. With the most conservative calculations, that that factory in Chaul costed Portuguese 300,000 tankas, or 3 lakh tankas per year. So this can be easily interpreted as the value Portuguese were keen to pay for establishing a station at Chaul. In year 1521, the Portuguese fortified the original factory that they built in 1516 and made a much elaborated fort that included different components like captain's residence, churches, jail, warehouse, etc. It is considered as one of the masterpieces built by Portuguese in India, and it was also known as the Castle of Chaul during the Portuguese era. There is one cathedral, hospital, Jesuit monasteries, Dominican, Franciscan churches, Augustinian church, and many other temples inside the fort. Today, these buildings are in form of ruins, some are also since these are also fallen some private as the private property of the farmers. The entries are also restricted, but yet we can explore it. I have some of the pictures which will, like, that's an attempt to capture the grandeur of these buildings. We can see the fort, the church, the plaques which can be widely seen throughout the fort. So there is also one chapel of Saint Xavier, and according to the gazetteer, it is also believed that Saint Francis Xavier, during his visit to Goa, he had also halted at Chaul for some time, and the chapel was built after that in his memory. So this is the Satkhani Buruz. The video will try to show the grand structure it has. It is the most iconic structure, I would say, from the ruins of Redunda. It is approximately 100 feet tall, and it served the purpose of lighthouse as well as the church steeple. This church was dedicated to Saint Barbara, and the tower was also called as is also known as the Tower of Saint Barbara. So originally, this was so it is around approximately 100 feet tall, and originally there were they had ceilings and staircase which can be used to go on the top, but around it's more than 200 years, I would say. The ceilings and staircase was demolished, probably during the war times, and but the structure still stands the same. Then we are moving forward to the Kalavantanisa Mahal. This is another interesting structure, which is on the outskirts of today's Chaul. Literally, the Kalavantanisa Mahal or Kalavantanisa Wada means the palace of dancer, and the local legend says, or the village people over here believe that the Sindhi dance performers used to live here, who would entertain the kings. Sorry, who will entertain the kings and the sardars. And this structure has different rooms, a central courtyard. There is also a prayer niche and a pond in the background of this structure. So, looking at these components, the the legend doesn't actually match with the structure that we see. So also approximately 100 meters from this place, there is a small village, which is known as Sarai, and there was also a milestone from Nizam period discovered here in the past. So if we connect all the dots in the right way, this is this must be the caravanserai for traders, and its location is pretty much in the outskirts, as I mentioned. So which also matches to the purpose or the functional purpose of sarai, because the traders or visitors were not allowed to stay inside the main town for the security purposes. And however, this structure is a small structure compared to the need of sarais. So it must the complete sarai must be spread over a much bigger area. And today, the structure we see is just one part of this sarai complex. Then this one is a tomb, which is again close to sarai, and it it's a standalone structure on a small hill. People don't know the purpose, but then uh, it is believed that it was so. This tomb earlier there is a plaque, but the name is not clear on it. But based on the structure and the inscription on plaque, it must have been the tomb in memory of officer who served Nizam. So I also have current. Also, this place has been uh, decorated, I would say, by local authorities, and they have set up a small garden for kids. But yeah, we still get to see the uh, structure, and in the backdrop, we can see the Korlai Fort, the hill of Korlai, and on that side we also have the Ravdanda Fort. So this is on the exterior side of the current Chaul. While I'm talking about the Sarai and this memorial tomb, I would like to take a callback from Barbosa's description, where in from 1514 of Common Era, where he mentioned at a distance of about a league, which is approximately 4 kilometers inland of Chaul, is a place where the Moors and localites of the city and towns throughout the country come to set up their shops and have a sarai. And this market is flourished for the last months of monsoon. So he mentions that this place was used as market during right from November, December, January till right from November, December till April every year, which is again the season of monsoon winds, which will help the ships traveling. So this is approximately 3 to 4 kilometers from the identified port location, which matches perfectly with the Barbosa's description of Sarai, where the seasonal markets were set up. The next monument we have is Nizam Shahi Mosque. So this mosque was built by Nizam of Ahmednagar, and it is the uh, only only mosque from the Nizam period on the western coast. Currently, it is in ruins, but it gives a good perspective of the original structure. There is also a small dargah and a square well near the mosque, and the inscriptions in Arabic language read as Asa Masjid, which is the name of this mosque. This mosque was constructed by Burhan Nizam during 16th century. So here we can, I hope the video is also visible.
Yes, it is.
So some of the panels on the ceiling also has, like even today we can see the painting on the ceiling, and there are decorations, patterns, floral designs which are painted and colored. So we get to see that as well. It again, this falls in a private property, so but then the localites try to take care of it in best of their possible ways. So they clean it on regular basis, and also they have been kind enough to allow the visitors and go like enjoy the views over there. Followed by this, we have Hammam Khana, which is around 200 meters from the Nizam Shahi Mosque. So there are 5 elaborate arches, and each of the arch is a spacious room and has drawers within the window, which is probably which is probably a set of shops or bazaar where where the things were sold locally. And the from this out of this series, the last one here, where we see the timber is put, so we can go inside, and as we enter, we see something uh, totally unexpected. So I will go to that slide just a minute. So as we enter, we see this beautiful structure with a dome inside, and further it also has huge arches, windows. So there are windows for functional as well as decorative purposes. The dome also has a window which probably had glass over it. And then if we go further in, there is this Hammam Khana, which has different sections as public hammam and private hammam. So I have 2 more video clips, which will. So this is a private hammam, and the yeah. So here we have a private hammam inside, and these channels, these tanks are connected to each other through the channels, and Also, they had a mechanism which would use to push and pull the hot and the warm and cold water. So it's a very beautiful structure, and though it's not in the best forms today, but yeah, it gives us a perception what it how it was in past. Again, these all things fall in private property, so uh, as in there's nothing much we can do about it. But yes, uh, that's what we have there. Now we will talk about the boundaries of Chaul. So there's a reference about the boundaries of Chaul again from Bijapuri documents from year 1643, which mention the Chaul has had the like right from the mangroves, it went up to the foot of the hills, and the west boundary was from the house of Vithoji and Govind Pansara from Manik Chowk up to the foot of Hinglas Hills. To the south, the route towards the bay of boundary of the port, and in the north, there was a sarai up to Someshwar Pass, which went towards North Chaul. So what we did here is we tried to put this description on the map that we currently have, and to added some more details to this. And if we connect this, we get the coverage of Chaul from 17th century, which is almost three times of today's Chaul, because today we have only this part as Chaul. This part is considered as Revdanda, which is a separate, which is considered as a separate village. And again, these parts, as I mentioned, these are considered Sarai, and this is Bagmara. So these are considered as separate villages now. They are no more considered as Chaul. Going further, if we try to connect the Buddhist caves, uh, we could locate this route goes further to Chinsoti and Chinsoti Nagotne, and then it connects to the Thanore caves or the Sudhagar, which we had discussed in the initial sections. So and which clearly indicates that there was a trade route which was easily connecting Chaul to the hinterlands, and which was used for a trading purpose from Chaul. Then we have shipbuilding part, which was conducted at Chaul. Um, since as we are talking about trade and trade industry from Chaul, that is again another unskippable part. So there were many shipbuilding company shipbuilding there were many shipbuilding facilities at Chaul, and many references and records are found about the skills and the uh, size of ships which were built in Chaul. Uh, not to men, Without fail, I would like to mention that the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj had 40 plus warships built from the shipyards at Chaul, and later he also established a naval station in Alibag or the Kulaba, where he also built they also built a fort of Kulaba, which was under Kanoji Angre. So far we saw Chaul was a land of opportunities for many artisans, common laborers from small villages in the surroundings, as well as the businessmen and highly skilled specialized communities from distant places, which included local as well as international people of local and international origin. So, with continual trade activities, Chaul offered an assurance and employment to people arrived here from all corners. The population here were from different religions like Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish, right from the beginning of Common Era. Muslims and Christians arrived and settled here around 5th, 6th century, and Ibn Abu Mulahal, who visited during 13th century, also mentions the people over here are very beautiful and handsome. They appear to be born of Turk and Indian parents. There are Muslims, Christians, Jews, fire worshippers, which is again which is Parsi, and then city has different kind of places of worships, right from mosques, churches, synagogues, and fire temples. So we also know that the lower Chaul was populated for Portuguese company, and there were many native Christians born here. Uh, and this community also had their own language, which is mixture of Marathi, Konkani, and Portuguese. Even today, this language is used by very few families, though. It is known as now Ling, which literally means our language. After Portuguese left Chaul, most of the Catholic community moved from Chaul to Korlai, which is on the other side, and they settled over there. So the people from Korlai, they use this language. Um, as I mentioned, the indigenous population, we see there are people from Deccan, Ghat area, northern coast like Gujarat, Marwad. They traveled here and settled here. The Bhanushalis, who is a Vaishya or trading community, make their roots from Gujarat or even Sindh. Uh, they migrated here around 10th century and established themselves in this area. They founded their temples, and they established rather so well that there is a dedicated stream of Chevli Bhanushali within the Bhanushali community, uh, which shows their assimilation with the this place. So, looking at all these aspects that we see uh, at, with the population of Chaul and the culture of Chaul, we can easily contribute this to be an urban settlement, as it has all the aspects that that a urban settlement has, and hence we can qualify Chaul as an as an urban center or a cosmopolitan city from that time. Now we'll talk about the beginning of the fall. So till now we discussed about the culture, trade activities, the few places of interest at Chaul, and how it was a maritime center on the western coast, and everyone here was minting money. So this was also helping small towns around it to grow, and everything was going so well till 17th century. And now today, after merely 300 years, nobody even knows about this trade center with a history of 2000, which had a history of 2000 years. So what exactly went wrong here? Rather, talking about Chol, actually too many things went wrong in a short span of time, and everything changed. Chol started losing what it had earned, uh, and for these there are reasons. The reasons I have segregated in two major parts: political changes and geological changes. So till the arrival of Portuguese, the Chaul was in hands of local kings. Considering the stability and consistency in the growth of trade center during the 10th during the first 10 centuries, it appears that Chaul also enjoyed political stability under Rashtrakutas and later came under the Shilaharas. The Arabian traders had kind of monopoly through local governors and rapport with Nizams. Arrival of Portuguese disturbed the equation, and competition also brought the instability. Between 14th to 18th century, Chaul, Chaul's, Chaul changed hands rapidly between Bahmanis, Nizams, Mughals, Portuguese, Marathas, and that this affected the pace of Chaul very negatively. During 14th century, it came under the Bahmani dynasty, and considering the distance from Gulbarga or Bidar, which were the capital of Bahmanis, the proximity of Gujarat limited the use of Bahmani. After 1490, the Ahmad Nizam Shah founded independent state, and it came under him, and he became the prince, and it became the principal port of Nizams. It was the only port of Nizams, and they had a dynasty. They had a dependency solely on the this port for their international trade. Due to the disputed relations between Nizam, Bijapur, Gujarat Sultanate, there was continual rise in the number of attacks on Chaul. And in the second half of 16th century, the relationships between Portuguese and Nizams also got worsened, and they had multiple battles amongst themselves. But Portuguese had monopoly on Arabian Sea, and the whole supply of war horses from Middle East was guarded by them, which made Nizam to have peace with Portuguese. These constant warlike scenarios and instability affected the trade happening from this port, and even around 1660s, Shivaji Maharaj decided to sack Chaul, and the trade, manufacturing, and other related activities being performed here got impacted badly. Huge migrations happened here, and people moved out of Chaul towards hinterland and other centers in proximity like Mumbai, Thane, Kalyan, etc. Talking about geological changes, uh, we already saw the water levels were increasing drastically in 2000 in right from the common era, beginning of common era till 17th century. This also raised the sandbars further to get deposition of shells and muds, where different types of grass and reeds started growing rapidly and made the land masses concrete, and people started using these land masses as extended rice fields, which which narrowed the mouth of river, and passage of larger ships become problematic. Due to the political instability, no measures were taken for correction of this issue, and soon it became uh, the entry of the river became very small, and it lost its import. It became almost became useless as a port for the modern ships. Around the same time, the number of pirates in this region increased. This could be one of the implication due to the loosened grip of Portuguese support from competing dynasties and fall in the employment due to the reduced trade. And all these factors made Chaul an unsafe and useless port for traders. So here we can see the siltation that has happened over the years, and the area I highlighted or marked with yellow stripes is actually the new siltation that happened. I won't say recently. It happened over the years, but till 14th century or so, the port was much the mouth of river, or the Kundalika river, was much broader, and with this siltation and additional landmass formation, the river, it became small. And this now today we can see a proper coconut and like proper plantation of large trees in this region as well. And no one can believe that this originally this was part of the river or the mangroves. Now we'll come to the closure and end of the journey of this ancient port, from a rich trading center to a little calm village. I'm from Chaul, and with my roots from this beautiful place, at times I imagine how wonderful it would have been if it survived the changes and continued to be the trade center city as it was. With right administration, probably it might have surpassed Mumbai's growth. But then, selfish me also thinks about the it's about it, and in a good way. It's good that it didn't happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got the Chaul that we have today. Lastly, as we come to an end, I would like to share a few lines from Garrison Dicuna's preface to the notes of history and antiquities of Chaul and Basin. Uh, he mentions in there, quoted, and now to enhance, doubtless, the historical significance of the place, there has sprung from amidst the two ruined cities like the phoenix of old, as if from their own ashes, the modern city of Bombay, which from a desolate and swampy islet has, by the intelligence and energy of its present rulers, been raised to the rank of the chief port of Western India and commercial capital of the whole peninsula. I will hold this thought, which is technically true, as behind the growth and success of Mumbai, which it is enjoying today, there are people, communities who moved out from Chaul, Vasai, and Thane or other cities around. And these were the initial ports which had introduced this part of coast to the world and created a launch pad for Mumbai. Thank you.